Hey everybody, and welcome to my first ever YouTube video for One Piece. And I figured this would be a great place to start, considering that we have for the first time gotten to see the Revolutionary Army, which has been pretty cool for their first debut. I thought, though, there were a couple things that kind of bugged me about them, but I'll get into that later. The chapter basically is in two main parts. It's cool to see that Orlumbus in the beginning giving his resignation letter to the king, which is weird because I thought that Orlumbus kind of was on his own, financed himself, but it is kind of like the Christopher Columbus parallel, so I guess he was financed somewhere else. But it's funny, he pledged his support, wasn't even released yet, but it's kind of like the Hoppo Navy, so... But anyway, so the first main part, I guess, that we see Dragon and Sabo and Koala all gathered there with Ivankov, which was awesome to finally see Ivankov after the time skip, because it has been too long since we saw our favorite Okama. And I thought that it was interesting too. If you actually look really closely, you see that Koala is sitting on 2 seat cushions. So she got that out of Mark Zuckerberg's playbook. If you're going to be sitting for a long time at one of these kind of meetings, you at least need a seat cushion. So, but it really shows you the difference in size between Dragon and Koala. If you look, Koala's really tiny, and Dragon actually is huge. Which is funny because Luffy is pretty tiny too, so I'm wondering if he got that from his mom. We don't really know, but we at least get to see Sabo talk on the phone with Lindbergh, who's introduced later, and say, like, where are you guys? Why aren't you guys here yet? Because I guess they should have already been at the meeting. But the most important part was Dragon reading and talking with Ivankov, I think, about Germa. Because one, if you look at it, Dragon is there, and he actually skipped completely over the Luffy news again. Ivankov says, it's just like your bloodline, he's finally become a Yonko. But of course, Dragon just completely ignores it, skips straight to Sanji, and how Ivankov said, oh, Sanji's a prince of the Germa 66. And he goes, oh, well, you know, on top of that, I guess the world government kicked them out. So at least now we kind of get to know what happened to them. Big Mom, I guess, probably killed Judge, possibly killed a lot of people. I think when she showed up and said leave her life, she decimated everybody, but that's for a different topic for a different time. But I guess the German were able to completely get out of there somehow, because you can't really, you know, the world government's still commenting on them. They probably are still around. And one interesting point I was thinking about that would be the whole point of Germa. When you think about it, what they were trying to do was to get Big Mom on their side because they wanted the power of a Yonko. So people in the world are going to start affiliating the Prince Vinsmoke Sanji serving directly under now a Yonko, Straw Hat Luffy, which is insane from last week's chapter. And I think that over time you're going to see it where they're kind of forced in under the Straw Hats, and they'll utilize the Straw Hat name to take back the North Kingdom, but we'll see. I don't know. I'll leave that up to Joy Boy for a theory later on in the future. But I thought that was pretty cool, and I thought it was awesome to see basically how the Revolutionary Army was set up on Momorio Kingdom, however you pronounce that, how they chose the Okama Kingdom to go back to. But I guess it kind of makes sense because it seems like it's out of the beaten path from the government. After all, Kuma sent Sanji there. So, but that was awesome. And then we get into the second part of the chapter, which really focuses on the 4 commanders. And I thought it was weird that Oda is going to have all 4 commanders who are coming from different corners of the world to the same place, to the Lelucia Kingdom, to fight against a fodder character, Pinkbeard, which was cool that we got to see Pinkbeard. I wonder if he has any ties to the Okama Kingdom too, because Momorosio, however you say the Okama Kingdom island name, and he's wearing a big Momo belt, and he also laughs saying that, so he's Pinkbeard. Maybe he's tied in, I don't really know, but it just was weird to me that you have these 4 incredibly strong characters, who is Betty, Lindbergh, Morley, and Karasu, the Itachi guy. So, and does Lindbergh remind anybody, has anybody ever played the League of Legends out there? Because Lindbergh kind of reminded me of like a Crazy Ziggs kind of vibe, and I thought it was weird that Karasu was the only one who didn't have a steampunky kind of vibe to him. Everybody else has steampunk. But we got to see these 4 finally debuted. For some reason, it took two of them to bring up the rear to make sure that none of these pirates escaped and that Pinkbeard was taken down. So I don't know exactly how the power scaling is supposed to work and how Oda's trying to show it, because you'd think that if you would imagine that these guys were at least Yonko commander levels. They're up there with Katakuri and Cracker, but you know, 4 of them needed to take down a 52 million berry bounty, which should be like no question. I mean, the Crow guy should sneeze and Crow should fly out and just peck them, steal all their shotgun guns, and take off. But we didn't see that happen. So, and I don't know. I'm kind of meh about the whole chapter, just because after last week's chapter was so amazing. I really wanted to see more about Luffy's friends' reactions over in his hometown. I wanted to see Garp's reaction, because we haven't seen Garp. And absolutely, I mean, we know for sure that Garp is going to end up being here at the Reverie. There's no way his son ends up going to the Reverie, declares war on the Celestial Dragons, and Garp doesn't show up. That's been his whole mission, has been protect the Marines. So definitely, that'll be really cool to see what that's like. But it is, I don't know, they'll grow on me in time. I just kind of wanted to see more about other characters we care about. See Zoro, see that Sanji has now finally a higher bounty than him. See from everybody else we've seen in the series, and see how they feel about the Straw Hats' new bounties and what it is they did. Maybe even look at some of the supernovas. I feel like if Oda had switched these chapters, it would have been better. If we would have got the introduction to the Revolutionary Army first, and then, you know, at the end, start talking about Sabo can't stop smiling because he's reading the newspaper about Luffy, right? And then that leaves us on a cliffhanger, and then this week, we get brought in and we get to see exactly what happened with the Straw Hats and where Luffy's bounty was and all that kind of stuff. So it's not that I dislike the chapter. It had a lot of good stuff in it. It's just I wanted to see other things. I kind of wanted to skip through it because this is a setup chapter anyway. We already know that the Revolutionary Army, these commanders are going to be far stronger than just taking down a 52 million berry bounty. So it would have been cool if it just would have shown how they fodderized them. But you know, I trust Oda, so it's going to be good in the future. But the coolest part of this chapter, I thought, was the contrast that Oda did between Blackbeard and Dragon, actually. So I'll get to Dragon in a second. I mean, Blackbeard's a little bit more obvious when Betty says, or whoever, they say basically to Pinkbeard, you know, oh, well, that's unfortunate for you because Blackbeard doesn't care about who's under his pirate flag, which is obviously direct contrast to Luffy, because Luffy would go out and declare war against the world government for somebody that's under his flag, or even fight and protect a nation that isn't even under his flag. Fishman Island, case in point. If he likes the people, he's going to protect you. And that's what he said anyway to the fleet, once he formed the fleet, to all of them, just call us. You don't need to be under my flag, just call us and we'll come and we'll defend you. So that's a pretty cool contrast, and I think ultimately that'll play in with Blackbeard. And actually, I think it'll play more into Luffy's character, getting territories from the other countries that are going to defend him, getting territories from other people, getting other important allies. We've already seen how he works and how the Straw Hats all work like that anyway in general with Zoe. So we'll see that in the future. But then going over to Dragon, I thought it was really interesting because Luffy plays the hero character, but he isn't a hero because he eats all his own meat, right? Like a pirate would. So, but he and Dragon kind of have the same-ish goal to help these people, free these people. Luffy wants to be free and the world government's in his way. Dragon wants the people to be free and the world government's in his way. But it was interesting how they set up the contrast with Betty and how we don't come in and help you out. You help yourselves out. Anybody here can be the hero and save themselves, but you have to take up arms. Whereas, like, if you look at Luffy in Dressrosa, he comes in and he saves everybody. He saves Doflamingo. He doesn't actually ask the townspeople to pick up arms. He didn't do that versus Enel. He just fought Enel. And I think that is a bit more into Dragon's character and why it is that he gets annoyed with Luffy and he skips over it. Because he can't do much. Luffy's still helping him out. He's still doing a good thing. He's taking on Big Mom, who's an oppressor, right? But it's not how he would do it. He would rather everybody else rise up and fight against Big Mom. And Luffy's just kind of coming in and defeating him. And you know that because it seems like kind of like a slight little remark that Betty gives where she goes, oh, well, we won't abandon any of you guys as long as you want to rise up. And it's like, well, what does Luffy do, right? he goes to a new island, he defeats the bad guy, but then he takes off. Because even though he's friends and he can come back and help you if something happens, he's not about training you up and kind of getting you ready to defend yourself, because that's not his goal. His goal is to be the Pirate King and to be free. So I thought that was interesting, just into like some insights. So we'll see. Maybe next week, you know, we'll get more into probably Vivi and the Revolutionary, probably a little bit more of the Revolutionary Army, maybe Vivi. I don't know. I don't want to make predictions because it'll definitely be wrong, because I didn't see this twist coming after last week. So, but anyway, rate the video if you liked or disliked the video. Comment, subscribe, let me know any kind of things or topics you want me to talk about or discuss. Let me know your feedback too as well. I really appreciate it. Keep reading that One Piece and take care. We'll see you next week. No break, which is amazing. Even though we came off a break, it just tends to be a pattern. But anyway, take care. Bye.